All right, so another key concept that we've been working on in Unit 3 is fraction estimation and just using benchmark fractions to help us understand if things make sense or not, and also to look at operations and to see, are we adding, are we subtracting, and does it make sense to what they're adding, okay, based off of the numbers that they have in the problem, okay? And one thing that can be helpful is that just that you can think about benchmark fractions such as 0, 1/2, 1 whole, 1 1/2, 2 wholes, just think about what you know about problems, okay? And I apologize if you hear my daughter, Harper Quinn, in the background. Just try to ignore her. So the first problem is 2/7 plus 1/2 equals 3/9. So we have to make a conjecture. Does this answer make sense, yes or no? And the one thing, okay, so first our brain should go, okay, they're adding. So let's think about what they're adding. Well, I see a half here, so that's an easy number to kind of relate to. So if I'm adding and I have a half, your answer should be greater than a half because you're adding, okay? And let's look at what they got, 3/9. Well, 3/9 is not even a half yet. So their answer does not make sense. So conjecture one, does answer one make sense? Nope, it doesn't make sense, okay? So I could insert some text here and I could say the answer does not make sense because you are adding 1/2 and you're adding 1/2, so your answer should be greater than 1/2, and they got an answer that was less than 1/2. So here you could kind of compare what they were adding to their answer and see that, hey, they were adding a half, so their answer should be more, and 3/9 was less than a half, so it doesn't make sense. Let me use a smaller font so that fits in there better. Okay. Here I have 9/10, and over here I have 7/8. Well, they're both close to a whole, okay? This one is 1/8 away from a whole, and 9/10 is 1/10 away from a whole. Well, we know that tenths are smaller than eighths, so if I'm only 1/10 away from a whole, then I know I'm closer to one whole than 7/8 because 7/8 I'm 1/8 away from a whole, so I'm a larger piece away from the whole. So I can say, yeah, 9/10 is greater than 7/8. That makes sense. So my argument for this one could be something like this. 9/10 is greater than 7/8 because 9/10 is only 1/10 away from a whole, and 7/8 is 1/8 away from a whole. So 9/10 is a smaller fractional piece away from a whole than 7/8. All right, let's look at this next one. Okay, this next one says 7/12 plus 1/4 equals 8/12. So in this example, I can look at the denominators here. Okay, I got two fractions here with the same denominator of 7/12 and 8/12. Again, I know I'm adding, so I could just think to myself, what would you add to 7/12 to get to 8/12? Well, you would not add 1/4. You would only need to add one more 12th to 7/12 to get to 8/12, and 1/12 is way smaller than 1/4. So this answer does not make sense at all. So answer 3 does not make sense. So this does not make sense because if you are adding, then you would only need to add 1/12 to 7/12 to get 8/12, not 1/4. And then finally, let's look at this next one, okay? This next one is 8/9 plus 1/3 equals 8/12. So here, I don't know if I have really easy fractions to compare. I don't have something that I'm adding a half to, which is easy to look at. I don't have denominators to compare like I did up to here, okay? But I can use what I know about fractions and some benchmarks here. I can tell 8/9 is pretty close to a whole, so I can just estimate these. And 1/3 is pretty close to a half. So my answer should definitely be, if I'm looking at this 1 plus a half, my answer, if I'm estimating this, would be about 1.5, okay? A little less since I rounded both of those up. But either way, I know I'm going to be over one whole because look, I have 8/9, I'm close to a whole, and then I have another third, okay? So I'm definitely going to be over a whole here. And look at what they got. They have 8/12. So that definitely doesn't make sense because 8/12 is not even close to a whole. Okay, 8/12 is less than 8/9, which is what they had here. So here, my answer does not make sense again. So answer, does it make sense? No, it doesn't make sense because they should get an answer that's larger than one whole, and they ended up getting an answer that was less than one whole.